Hello, I'm Alex Mansfield, the host of Manny Talks Shooting, and welcome to another episode. This is the shooting podcast where I talk to individuals all across the shooting industry. We'll talk competition, self-defense, concealed carry. If you like this content, check out our YouTube channel, Manny Talks Shooting. And without further ado, let's get to this episode. Manny Talks Shooting is proudly presented to you by D2 Custom Guns. Did you know that Phil the Groundhog isn't the only thing Puxatawny, Pennsylvania is famous for? That's right, D2 Custom Guns, the home of Dan Heizenreiter and one of the best, fabulous 2011 builders in the country. So make sure you guys go check him out, D2 Custom, anywhere you can see him on the social media, Facebook, Instagram, go check him out. If you see myself, Patches Reader, anyone with the D2 Custom Guns, make sure you go check him out, and you will thank me later. Now, let's get on to the show. Welcome, everybody. Welcome back to another installment of Manny Talks Shooting, the shooting podcast on the internet, because how would you listen to this if it wasn't on the internet? I'm not going to make a DVD and then send it to you, so you have to listen to it on the internet. But this show is proudly presented to you by D2 Custom Guns. Go check out d2customguns.com. Order a gun from Dan in the off-season so you can get it for the main season. But it's okay. The guy who we're talking to today will probably tell you, you don't need a fancy gun, you just need a Glock. This is probably the best Glock shooter on the Super Squad, Mr. Brantley Merriam.
About it. Appreciate you having me.
Yep. Thank you for coming on. We've been in the works on this one for a minute. It just works out when schedules just kind of, it was nice because I had shows lined up all throughout January and you were like, I'll just do the beginning of February. I'm like, that's perfect. Build up the lineup. So I'm good with that. So
Nice.
Thank you for coming on. As I start every show, I ask every guest, who are you?
Yep. So I am Brantley. I kind of got into the competitive shooting world back in 2020, late 2019, early 2020, and have been rolling ever since with that. Kind of grew pretty fast in the sport just due to how much I loved it and how much I enjoyed it. So did not a lot of shooting and a whole lot of dry fire, lots of practice. Watched every YouTube, Instagram video imaginable about training and practicing and getting better. And that's kind of where I contributed a lot of my success to. Slowly climbed up the ranks to Super Squad, and then thankfully have stayed on Super Squad ever since. I think back in 21 or 22 was my first time on Super Squad, and then been rolling with it, and been shooting and traveling and stuff like that. And then just recently, in the past couple of years, or the past year, got to be employed by TRX Arms, which is pretty cool. I was doing kind of a holster development, and then also kind of some content and training and marketing stuff, and then as well as just opened up the books to personal training as well.
Yeah, and we're definitely going to talk about both of those topics later on in the show. So, Brantley, you've always been from Tennessee, or did you relocate there?
Nope. So I was from Alabama, Central Alabama, right around the Tuscaloosa area. And beginning of last year, January 24, moved up to Tennessee with a TRX job.
Okay, so is it okay to say Roll Tide then?
Yeah.
I don't think there's anyone in
If I am
Alabama.
home on the couch for a Saturday, which is very, very, very rare, I'll watch a football game. But other than that, I don't really care too much about who's playing who.
Right, exactly. Yeah, it's
Every
like,
time I mention from Alabama, Tuscaloosa, everybody's like either Roll Tide or War Eagle, and I'm like, whatever, boats your float, dude.
right. Yeah, I've never been a big football guy either, but yeah, it's whenever there's absolutely nothing on. So it's okay. My favorite sport is played in our off season. It's the best thing, NHL hockey is like you can watch it all winter and not be be disturbed by, well, I mean, you can shoot all year round, but up here we got to stop in like November. So I get to watch hockey and not really complain about it. So yeah,
hockey is a fun sport to watch.
it's intense, dude. Like if you stop watching and you're just playing on your phone, you could miss 2-3 minutes of clock play, and it's like, where'd the whole game go? Like,
I just like it how like if two dudes are like, you know what, this is mutual, like we both don't like each other, we're just gonna start like trading blows. And it's like once it goes on the ground, okay, then it's like timeout, okay, go back to your corners kind of thing.
Yep.
Just like very like respectful, like, okay, yeah, we're just gonna start punching each other now.
Yeah,
Kind of like that level.
And I think they only stop them pretty much because I mean, you don't want it. It's usually the skates that are more going to be the problem than you actually beating somebody up. Like if somebody gets cut by a skate, like that's not going to be good.
2 years ago, they had that guy who like cut his jugular like on the ice.
Mm-hmm.
That was wild.
Yes, that was definitely wild. I've been watching a lot of those videos lately of just like either like super crazy penalties. Lately enough, it's been goalies getting in fights. That's the interesting thing.
Don't mess with the goalies.
Don't mess with the goalie. The guy you guys been like, even if you've had in a rough night and he's getting scored on, don't mess with the goalie because he's just gonna start. He's got big padded boxing mitts essentially, and he'll mess you up with them.
Yeah.
So Brantley, so in Alabama, were you always part of like a pro 2A family, or did you kind of come into firearms later in life?
Grew up around guns. I always say like I'm practiced or not practiced, but grew up shooting Coke cans, bottles, trash off the logs with my dad, like all growing up. And then right around the time when I turned 18, that's the legal age to carry concealed in Alabama, or it was. Maybe it's different, but around then I was like, hey, I want to kind of start carrying a gun. I want to actually start practicing with it and getting good. And I was like, well, let's kind of dive into like a class. And I started doing some research, trying to find some classes around. And then I saw some videos of like some USPSA, some T-Rex arms, some like old school like tactical riflemen, some Grand Thumb, some all kinds of different videos. And I was like, dude, that kind of shooting looks pretty sweet. And that's kind of how I got the first initial hook on it. And I was asking around for a couple guys, and he's like, "Yeah, I used to be a competitive shooter." And I was like, really? Like, I thought that was like the pinnacle. Like, if you were a competitive shooter, like you were hot stuff. And I was like, well, how do you get started? Like, how do you train? How do you like? Where's the next match? And he's like, I just hop on practice score. So hopped on practice score, shot a match, and I was like, yeah, I'm not ever stopping this. Like, I'm going to continue to pursue this a lot.
Right. Well, that's cool. And yeah, you go from that plinking to that want to be that self defender when you're able to. Um, Yeah, I also was kind of one of those who fell down the YouTube rabbit hole of all those people, and you eventually start finding it, and eventually, I don't know, videos turned into podcasts or and whatnot, and then yeah, we're
Mm-hmm.
we're here now, right?
Heck yeah.
Because we roughly from your time frame, we're pretty much got into the sport roughly at the same time. COVID
Nice.
screwed up my start, but you know how it's like, oh, I took a training class. Oh, now I'm out of ammo and I can't buy anymore because it's like
Yeah.
you're unobtainium. So.
Mm-hmm. I think I shot a match, maybe like one match in like a 8 month period, like from my first match or something like that, because it was like shot a match, loved it, and I was like, okay, now here's COVID, and I was like, crap. Like also like broke college kid at the time, and
Mhm.
then you couldn't find ammo because it was like $1 to 50 cents a round. Nobody was hosting matches, so I was like, okay, let's just turn to dry fire, and that's yeah.
Absolutely. When you got into concealed carry, was it? I'm assuming it was with like what, a Glock 19, Glock or a Glock
Um,
17.
no, so before I turned 18, I saved up some money and bought a Sig 229 in 40 cal because that was the best of both worlds when it comes to 9 and 45. So I was like, well, let's not get the puny 9 millimeter. Let's actually get like a big beefy 40.
hmm
And then for concealed carry, I actually got a Smith and Wesson Shield, also in 40. A terrible combination of small gun and large caliber. Didn't work
hmm
out very well. Then went to the Sig 320, I want to say, as my first red dot gun. And then after that one, went to Glocks and have flirted around with other guns, but pretty much have stayed carrying a Glock the entire time.
hmm Yeah, you dabbled a little bit, but came back to the Glonk perfection.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's like the whole time I was carrying a Glock for concealed carry. So it was either a 19 or a 45, like the entire time. I would
hmm
just compete with the Shadow 2 for a couple years. And then I was like, dude, like I'm carrying this gun, and like I'd shoot it on range days and practice days, and like there was like no discernible difference in like performance drop. And I was like, why am I spending all this extra time and money on maintenance and guns? And it's like I can just shoot a Glock and do the same.
The price difference between the Shadow 2 kitted out and a Glock, you could buy a million magazines and never have to reload them.
Oh, heck yeah.
I
Yeah.
wish I was the guy who worked in the T-Rex armory who just loaded Lucas's mags.
Thankfully we actually have a machine. So it's like one of the ones like the bench top one. So you load the mag in and just like pump the handle.
Oh,
So it's
that's
kind
a
of
little more convenient than you're essentially masturbating a magazine with a Palula, and there's like
no, the up the Eulers or whatever those things suck. I hate using mags with those.
yeah, yeah. I can imagine. Now, so you've always pretty much you've been in the Glock world. Was that a requirement when working at T-Rex Arms that you own a Glock?
No, not at all. It was kind of funny because like I went to the Glock right before them, but I was like that whole halfway through the last season with the Shadow, like my eyes were already basically on Glock. I was just waiting for the minute that Nationals to be over, and then I was like, okay, yeah, I'm immediately selling this thing. And so, which was kind of funny because the last stage, I think the last target of that nationals with the shadow, I actually had a malfunction with the entire match clean. Last target, last stage, last day had a malfunction. And I'm like, yeah, I'm done. I'm done. I'm going
Mhm.
to a more reliable platform.
Gotcha. Now, speaking of a more reliable platform, you just pretty much keep your record of your how many rounds, so you know when to change springs, and just keep the darn thing lubed up.
Yep. Actually, I barely ever lube. I keep them pretty dry. I will lightly coat when cleaning. And I only clean whenever I feel like it.
Mhm.
So there's no rhyme or reason. It could be 2,000, it could be 10,000. And I've never had a gun induced malfunction. I've had ammo induced malfunction. We have some really crappy Winchester 150 at the shop, and that stuff will get a light strike every once in a while. But other than that, no stoppages, no weird things like that. They have ran pretty much flawlessly. But also too, like I'm not dumping 100,000 rounds. I think last year in total I just broke 30,000, and I have two guns. So even if I were to shoot all those, like that's only 15,000 a piece on guns. So like you're really not even breaking the gun when it comes to that like little of round count. So the maintenance schedule isn't really needed.
Gotcha. I'm surprised. I thought with all your time, doing that stuff, that's probably just your own private training because you probably still do videos at work that's not on probably on your guns. It's probably on well, maybe it might be on your guns, but
I try to keep track of a little bit of both. I mean, we're always free to shoot our own guns on camera if it's like relevant to the topic. But also, I mean, I can grab an armory gun and shoot that as well.
gotcha. So, you got in. You said 2021 was your first super squad year, right?
I think it was either 21 or 22. I can't quite remember.
Right. Okay.
I think it was
So
22, actually.
so
I think it was
22,
22.
that was in
Yeah.
Alabama.
Yep. That was the last year. The
Hmm.
last year or second to last year, it was at Talladega.
And that was production paired with carry optics, or was that PC?
Mm, I think it was production. I think the year before last, or the year before that, was PCC and carry optics.
Okay.
I
So
think.
pretty much
Yeah. No.
most of the so some of the super squad level guys were actually still on the super squad because there's those guys who shoot production, like the Nils and the Masons who are kind of like stuck between them. So you were shooting against
Yeah.
heavy hitters at that year.
Yeah. I want to say it was Nils, it was Max, it was JJ, it was Mason. I think we had Phil on it. I think we had maybe Garen, a couple other guys, but I know I didn't shoot with Jacob. I think he was shooting production at the time, and maybe JJ was as well. I'm not quite sure.
Gotcha. So yeah, there was still a mix of guys, but how did it feel in 2022 to be asked to be on the super squad?
It was pretty cool. It was pretty fun. The year prior to get on the super squad was 21 Nats, and I remember just going into that match of just like I'm just going to shoot my game. Like I'm not trying to prove anything really. My natural kind of speed will get me pretty good places, and if I can control the hits, then I do well basically.
Hmm.
And I was very controlled through that 21 nationals, and then hopped on super squad in 22. And there were some jitters for sure. I mean, you don't just like hop on super squad without having jitters. Never been on as well, but it was able to get actually fourth place on the first time of being on the super squad, which is pretty cool. So I was definitely happy about that.
Hmm. Oh, I can imagine. The being that. So in 2021, you placed ninth,
Mhm.
at 93.30% of JJ, which is very impressive. Yeah, you beat it. It's okay. Old Grandpa Phil still beat you, but it's okay. I don't know.
Yeah.
I was talking with Brian Conley one day, and we were doing like predictions or something for nationals, and
Mhm.
he's dogging on Phil. I'm like, you can't count that old goat out. Like he will do something right, but he might
Yes.
not win the match, but he'll still
Ye-
be in the mix.
Yep.
But anywho, so you get on the super squad, you shoot it in 20, you're on it in 2022, and you haven't left yet.
Yep.
Um, did you have going into that nationals? Did you have a bunch of level 2 wins going into that to prep for being on the
I
super
don't.
squad?
I don't think so. I think honestly, I had my first level 2 win only like maybe last year, maybe 23.
Hmm.
I don't think I actually had a level 2 win at the time. Um, I think I might have had like a state championship, but it was like Max would come in first at Alabama State and I would come in second. So I would get Alabama champion, but I was like, man, it does not have the same ring to it. Um,
Right.
I guess back then.
Right. No,
So,
I understand what you mean there. So, relatively an unnamed person coming into the super squad.
yeah.
Did they play mind games with you when you got on there?
Thankfully, no, or maybe that I didn't catch. Maybe they did, and it just went over my head. But I mean, I want to say I might have shot with a couple of them at like an Area 6 match. I think.
Hmm.
I'm not sure if that was the year of or the year prior, but no major mind games that I knew of. Um, the only kind of real like holy crap, this is the super quad was of course like the first day because it was like, dude, like I've been watching all of y'all's videos for the past like couple years now. I'm like learning each one of you does well, does badly, and like trying to put that into my own shooting. And then of course like the actual like last stage of the match, I inadvertently looked my placement up on practice score and saw fourth next to my name, and I was like about had a heart attack. And so then I shot that last stage like an absolute scaredy cat.
Mm,
I'm surprised I didn't like drop 4 places just because of how crappy I shot that stage.
right. So, there's pressure of being on the super squad. That first you're coming up to that first time of being on super squad at 94. So 2022 finished 94.26%. Were you nervous seeing Shooting USA there with their cameras, or did they turn the cameras off when you were about to shoot?
I think they recorded a couple of my runs. I think that nationals in particular had a couple of stage wins that were pretty good. Um, but I think I was just so nervous of like all of it that that extra nervousness of the cameras really didn't really affect me
Hmm.
um, too much. So
Yeah. The answer was 3 stage wins on that.
yeah,
That's the nice thing about practice score. As we talk, I can type and then pull things up in real time, so it's not
yeah.
like. But that was the nice thing is that 2022 they finally did the single standalone Carry Optics Nationals. So
Oh,
you can
was it standalone?
Yep,
What?
2022. So 20, I want to say 20 was CO and production, and then 21 was PCC and Carry
That sounds
Optics.
right. Yeah. So
Yep,
why wasn't Jacob on the Super Squad then for 22?
that's a great question.
He might have just not have shot CO
Yeah.
because he was shooting production for a while, and then he borrowed a work 320 and shot that until he can get a shadow milled. So that might have been it.
Hmm.
Because yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, and still people were those diehards. It's like, oh, it's not my division, because for a while, Carry Optics was dominated by Max, but
yep,
none of like Mills wasn't there, JJ wasn't there yet. JJ was
yep.
primarily an open shooter still at that point, but
Hmm.
now everyone's shooting the Carry Optics limited optics game. Does
Yep.
it hurt? Do you hurt people's feelings shooting very well in limited optics with the Glock?
Yes.
Do you
Yes.
put a magwell on?
No.
I bet you
No.
don't.
I ran handgun nationals this past year with the exact setup as my carry optics. Nothing, not one thing changed. So it was pretty fun.
So, are you interested in getting yourself a enclosed emitter for all the times you shoot in the rain?
Honestly, I've only been bitten in the butt with the SRO like once or twice,
Hmm.
um, and that was kind of earlier on. Now I've either like just grown to accept it, like you're going to get water on it, or find ways to mitigate it. Because
Yeah.
yeah, handgun nats was it was pouring the entire time, so I ended up just putting a towel over the gun the whole time. And at least, thankfully, like all the heavy hitters were shooting at least the same time of the day. Maybe not the same exact stages, but like we were all shooting stages in the rain, so it kind of
Right.
did make it a little bit more fair.
You didn't
But
have to shoot the table start stage in zone 2 though in the rain, did you?
no, I don't think so. I shot zone 1 in the rain.
Okay. So then you shot in handgun nationals. You shot that monstrosity, the last stage of the match, in good conditions. Then
Which monstrosity?
it was like the T-shaped shooting area. You had the really far activators in the back.
Oh, stage 19, the
Yes, yeah.
real. Yeah, so I shot that on day 2, or no, I shot that on day 1.
Yeah. So then that'd
Yeah,
been probably the best conditions, either the first day or
yes,
the last day.
definitely. Yeah, I got lucky on that, and I still ended up throwing a mic on like the swinger or one of the bobbers. So
Mm.
it is what it is.
I don't know. When I designed that stage, it was a very challenging stage for sure.
It was challenging for sure. It was not a
Well,
simple coach.
Matt Hopkins made it even worse. I didn't have activators out there, and he's like, "We're putting activators out there." I'm like, "Okay."
Activators at freaking 35 yards. Like, let's go.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it could be. There's things that are more unpractical. You could be standing on a balance beam trying to shoot targets at 30 yards, I guess.
Yeah. You could have targets where like the centers of the targets are covered up.
This is true too. I mean, speaking of that, do you practice on the when you do your own personal practice? Do you practice on the T-Rex targets with the delta like blacked out?
Sometimes, most of the time. There's a couple of them that actually have like the ACB or ACD like black printed on it. And I hate it because it's like 3 inches lower than the center of the alpha. And so my eyes always get drawn to that. And I'm like, I don't want to shoot in the gut. I want to shoot like high, like 2/3 top of the alpha and actually not the dead center, actually like a little bit tall. So I ended up either just bringing my own or just find targets that don't have that, or I even always just like paste those little letters and not see them.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean those. I can see the appeal to having those, like with the the hardcover already pre-built on the outside to be like, yeah, you really don't want to hit there, but yeah, I could understand when they're not printed like you're used to. It's like building an index or an aiming reference to a target that's like, oh, that's actually higher. Could
Yeah.
cause you major match inaccuracies or even in your own training.
Yeah, I can find a lot of times I normally like I catch myself aiming at like center of target instead of center of alpha, and
Hmm.
center of target is like 4 inches above the bottom of the alpha versus like center of alpha plus 2 inches tall would be like perfect because you're generally gonna drag hits down. You're never really gonna push hit shots up unless you're doing something really weird. And so like, if you're in a match, like let's game it as much as we can and just kind of push for a little bit higher.
Hmm. Yeah. Excuse me. But yeah, so in your training, how many days do you actually get to go in live fire for yourself?
Um, Thankfully nowadays it's a whole lot more. When I first started, it was like once a month to once every other month kind of thing. Um, and this past year, still back in Alabama, or I guess that's 2 years ago, it bumped up to maybe like 2 to 3 times a month, and now it's actually like once a month or once a week for like dedicated me practice, and then I'm usually on the range as well filming. So I am getting rounds down range, minimum of two times a week, basically. So it does help out a lot, as well as I'm still trying to dry fire, especially now since the season kind of has started for me.
Hmm.
As many days as possible, trying to hit like minimum of like 5 days. But if I feel up to it, then I'll do the other ones as well.
Right. Yeah, and I guess that's got to be a big thing too, right? You're on the range more for yeah, actual day job stuff, plus your own training. So it makes
Yes.
makes it more available.
Yeah.
Um,
But there's very limited training value, and like when you're trying to shoot on camera, it's more so just like a confirmation of like, hey, can I, while not thinking about the shooting, can I still shoot well? And so it's not to the level of stress of like a match where like you kind of has that test and evaluation that a match does perform, but shooting on camera does kind of is nice because like I don't have all the mental input of like, okay, this is how you grip. This is where I need to be looking. It's kind of like, hey, I'm talking about this point. Let me go shoot this drill. Oh, hey, I shot the drill decently. Okay, cool. Kind
mhm.
of that kind of flow.
Yeah, it's being able to just get the keep the gun in your hand and keep bullets going down range is pretty nice, I would say, from that aspect. But
Definitely see like how much little like mental input you have to do to get good results. Is
mhm.
definitely a good way to put it.
Yes, absolutely. So that's pretty good. So speaking of T Rex, is it like a 9 to 5 essentially, or is it like does it hit or is it fluctuate? What is it like
Yeah,
for
I
you?
mean it's a normal 9 to 5 job, or 7 to 4, 7 to 3:30, something like that.
Hmm.
As really as I get in, but yeah.
So, if you don't mind asking, what kind of occupation did you come from to then go work at T Rex?
Mhm. So I had a background in mechanical engineering, so a lot of like the engineering and 3D design as well for an engineering firm for a couple years. They did some management stuff with FedEx for a little while as well. and then got into T-Rex for actual holster development. So making the 3D models of each of the guns and all the different light combinations, as well as kind of new products and new designs, and making those things. And then slowly went over to the content side of the house.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm kind of 50-50 split between them, of actually like making holsters for different guns, making new products that are coming out, working on the new like level 2 holster that we're working on, and then doing content of filming and coming up with video ideas, coming up with content ideas, and doing a little bit of the marketing as well.
Gotcha. Wow, that is a pretty big departure from what you were doing. So it's
Yeah.
pretty. Well, I'll try to break this down a little bit for everybody. So working in the holsters, not necessarily making orders to fulfill holsters, but making new holsters for new guns and new combinations,
Yep.
and making sure probably that does XYZ red dot fit on our current holster, right?
Yep.
Stuff
A
like
lot of
that.
that. Or somebody comes out with a new gun model. It's like, okay, does this gun model fit all their old gun models? Do we have to make a new holster line? Can this be squeezed into one of our current holster lines? Is this light? We've had some companies, or we've gotten lights from other companies, or we bought them, or something like that. And it's like it'd be very hard to actually make a holster for this light. Like there's
Mhm.
no geometrical places to actually like grab onto it with the Kydex, so it'd be very difficult. And so kind of those things, as well as like new products. You come out with uh, new carriers, new belt stuff, new all kinds of things. So,
Mhm.
and then being able to actually like articulate too, with having the kind of the shooting knowledge and the performance side, because that's I think what T-Rex does really well is like no matter what holster we make, it's going to be designed for performance unless otherwise like explicitly stated. All of our holsters are really good at concealment and carrying, but also too like you can actually perform at a high level with them. And so then being able to take all that information that I have and put it into the products that we design is pretty like a good hand in hand combination.
Right. So I totally want you to run around with a Ragnarok SD just for the lols.
I'll do it. I'll do it for sure.
No, yeah, that has always been like my favorite. I mean, it's a very impractical holster for like day to day running around like on the range, but you'd get enough laughs out of it, I think.
Oh, yeah, I get plenty of laughs already with the rag or with the Glock. Like an SD would just be like a cherry on top.
Yeah. So what gun or light holster gun combination that you can speak of was the most pain in the ass to deal with?
So I think it happened before I got there. Before I got there, a good bit of the processes really got refined, because in the beginning, I mean, it was literally just like molded onto blue gun, cut with bandsaws, and now it's very much so high tech or high tech when it's like 3D modeling up to like the thousandth of an inch, and some of the models milling them out in HDP with like a Haas machine, and then actually thermoforming them onto a vacuum mold, membraneless, running them, cutting them also on a CNC machine. So real fanciness. But I think they said that they had the most issues with the Springfield XDM series. Most manufacturers of guns, the heights from like bottom of frame to slide are pretty consistent, and just the length will change. But to my understanding, those companies, the longer the gun is, the actual wider it is, or maybe thinner it is. So it's like different thicknesses for the different lengths, and so it's real wonky.
Mm,
Uh, so it does not. It's not very conducive to making consistent holsters.
right. So when you guys develop like a new holster model, or
Mhm.
do you actually guys go out and get an actual firearm, or do you find a way to get like a 3D rendering from like the manufacturer?
So either way, so a
Mhm.
good example I would say is one of the first models I did was the Echelon,
Mhm.
actually. So we actually had 3D models from the manufacturer, so that was a great starting point. For like Glock and I think CZ, we wouldn't have 3D models just because those are kind of a lot larger companies, and so we would actually take those and actually do a 3D scan and then make a mock model ourselves in our system with that 3D kind of spline image, and take it from there. And then that like you don't start at good of a place because you have to kind of dial in the mold itself. Versus if the manufacturer actually gives you 3D models like the Echelon, you can really hit the ground and start running pretty quick.
Mhm. Yeah, a lot less trial and error on the holster making side.
Definitely. And then it's at that point you're literally just like blocking out the different parts of the gun of like if it's the mag release, like, okay, block it out from where it's going to be in the holster to where, like, how you enter it, normal kind of common sense stuff like that. And then it's like making sure when you add the light to the model, do you put it in the right spot, and kind of the little ins and outs of it.
Hmm. Yeah, which is super cool. And it's not just grab blue gun, put
Yeah.
Kydex around, heat up. Not like the old
Yeah.
videos. Get toaster oven out, pull out of toaster oven, fold
Yeah.
over, squid.
Yeah, no, I was pretty impressed of like how actually detailed it was. Because like I said, like I'm still learning the kind of the art, and I would still call it an art of like the feel of what a holster should feel like, of like a good combination of like click and friction and like all that marrying together. And like when we're trying to dial that in, we're playing with like literally like thousandths of an inch of like, oh, that doesn't quite feel right. Let's drop the light, or bring the light up like 5 thousandths of an inch. Oh, that feels so much better. We have like actual adjustment range on it. You can get it too loose, you can get it too tight. So there's Goldilocks that we're going to hit whenever we actually give it to the customer. So it's pretty fun, and it's definitely something to learn.
Hmm. I can imagine. I bet it's, I did see there are some career opportunities if anyone's interested in working with Brantley and at T Rex. I think there is a holster developer, whatever.
There is. There's
There
a
is
spot
a
actually on my team.
there's a holster developer position if you want to make $23 to $30 an hour, depending on your experience. I was reading that for a little bit. But how much development or input did you have into designing the app?
The app. I got so the dude who's kind of spearheading the app is on one of our marketing teams, and it was kind of his brainchild, but he did definitely ask a whole lot of questions of like, what are the point values, what features would be good, what features would be bad, um, what drills need to be done, like how do people are going to track scores. And so I was able to answer a lot of questions for him and kind of steer him as well. But
Mhm.
like the actual like concept of it was definitely his. I was just kind of putting in a little bit of information here and there.
Right. Now is there I don't know. I've downloaded the app. It's on my phone. I haven't looked into it much. Is there a way to like for the drills, is there a way for people to have like a leaderboard?
Not currently, but it is in the works. In the
Oh,
next, it's either this update or the next update. We're going to have the ability where you can actually like send drills to friends, track like, okay, um, if you come into my range and we all scored on my phone, I can actually send you the results so you can see your results, even if it wasn't tracked on your phone. I think you can also see leaderboards as well. So it's lots of more functionalities coming to it.
oh, that's kind of cool. So it pretty much you need to know their username or their email to get
Yeah,
them their. Yeah, it's kind of cool.
yeah,
It's like it'll be nice a functionality of. Do you have a USPSA number? Yes. There's your number. There's your identifier number.
yes, that would be pretty sweet. Yep.
Well,
Um,
yeah. Yeah. Tabulate all that data on a third party server. God, that's got to be a lot of. There's probably a lot of downloads on that app already.
yeah.
And
No, we've had a really, really good like market acceptance of the app, because
mhm,
it's a really cool product. I mean, it has a lot of good like live fire features to it, as well as a lot of good dry fire features as well.
mhm. So I'm curious. Will the app? Does the app's like? Is there like a thing? I'm a new shooter. I want to get some basic understanding or performance. Aspects.
Mhm.
What drills do I do? Will it tell me what drills I should do, or
So
is
we
it?
currently have a couple live fire and dry fire drills, which I kind of would recommend. I helped kind of pick those as well. Of like, hey, these are great drills to practice actually the fundamentals. And then we actually have short videos of I think me and a couple other guys shooting the drills and kind of explaining, hey, here's how you use this drill to learn this skill, and so on and so forth. And then you can use, hey, this is the dry fire drill of what we just did in live fire, or this is a dry fire drill to learn this principle that we think is important as well. So you can do that feature as well. And then I
Gotcha.
think we still have the how to shoot a pistol in 10 minutes video up on there. And then Lucas is doing the how to shoot series, which he's on like episode 5 or 6 right now out of 10, I
Mhm.
think. So yeah.
Yeah, I've been stalking the T-Rex Arms website as we've been talking. There's a video with you. It says how to hit stuff with your eyes. It's a great title for it.
Yes. Yeah. No,
I
our
mean that.
marketing is awesome.
Well, and I bet that's probably one of the biggest fundamentals that people have the hardest time learning is that the eyes are going to dictate a lot of things. Like if how fast you can, get a good shot on target. How fast you can transition. I mean, I know in the sport, our sport, transitions where you win the game. I mean, besides
100%. Yeah.
being super fast on your feet, like freaking Jacob Hetherington, who freaking smokes. I don't know how he does it. I don't know if he's like,
sprints while shooting 2 alpha. It's like, no, sir, that's not human.
no, no one says you can't be an android, and I bet he is. We just don't know it yet. We can't prove it.
He's an android who shoots fast and loves fishing. That'd be a weird combination for an android.
Hey, you never know. I mean, if you watch Dragon Ball Z, you know androids can like fight everybody and never die. So I don't know. Did you ever watch Dragon Ball Z growing up?
I did not.
Oh, come on. Like, were you ever? Do you have a nerdy side?
My nerd side is like Excel. Like I'll like Excel nerd out about like matches and scoring and stuff like that, but not too much of like the comic side.
Gotcha. So speaking of that, then I'm gonna totally derail this conversation. I guess is
Let's go.
what was your childhood like then? Like, was there? Did you have a Saturday morning cartoon that you had to sit there and watch, or did you not have Saturday morning cartoons?
No, I had Saturday morning cartoons, but I mean it was like Tom and Jerry. Like I like the old school stuff. Tom and Jerry, SpongeBob. You had what the Backyardigans. Like I'm young. You gotta think about it. Like I'm only like 26, so like my Saturday morning cartoons were like in like '04, '05, stuff like that.
You're only 26.
Yep.
Okay. I pegged you for at least a few years. I at least pegged you for like 28, maybe 29. But okay. Fair enough. We got to get some facial hair on you. I mean, aren't you supposed to have a kid? Aren't you
It
supposed to have a
sucks.
kid soon?
I can grow a nasty, like a real nice, like Amish neck beard, but like anything up here, it's like a no go. It just does not stay on. It's just all nice and patchy, and I'm like, dude, this just looks like I'm a homeless dude trying to grow out something. So I'm like, I'm just gonna shave it.
Oh, fair enough. Is there anyone at T Rex who actually has a beard?
Um, a couple of I think a couple of them, a couple of the board members have it. Um, Not many people on camera. I think our marketing director has one. Now I'm trying to picture their faces, and I'm completely blanking out of like, what does your face actually look like? Do you have facial hair?
Yeah.
Um, I honestly have no clue.
Yeah.
Mm.
You never know because it just seems like the style of person would be a clean shaven person, maybe a goatee. I mean,
Yeah, I think we got
maybe
some like nice filled in like thicker scruff, but not like a full on like chest beard. I don't think we have any of those.
no Uncle Si Robinson beards.
No.
Do you know what that is? Do you know what I'm referring to? Okay. Now I've got to remember. It's like some of my references will go for. It's okay. I'm not that much older than you, but it's okay. We'll survive through this.
Appreciate it.
That I feel old. That your Saturday morning cartoons was the Backyardigans.
Dude, that was the show. That was about imagination, dude. That was awesome. Yeah,
I will.
Phineas and Ferb. That was kind of towards the tail end of when I was starting getting out. That
Yeah.
was like Phineas and Ferb and stuff like that.
Fair enough. Did you know that bowling? Have you ever heard Bowling for Soup? Other than the fact that they wrote the theme song for Phineas and Ferb.
I don't think so.
Oh my God, we got to get you
No,
guys some new jams.
I am very much so music illiterate when it comes to like anything pre 2000s, probably. And even then, like I'm still picky about some stuff.
Yeah.
Of like, yeah.
Speaking of that, do you jam out to music while you train, or is it okay?
100%. Oh yeah.
So
Definitely.
what's your jam then?
I like some rock, some metal. I have like the slower style playlist as well, like early 2000s, late 2000s pop. Nothing too new kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And kind of the different, like, do I want to be hyped up that day? Do I want to kind of slow her down? I have the different playlists to do that. But I have like a nice little Bluetooth receiver on my actual headphones, so that I can be playing music on my phone, listen to it through my headphones, and so it's just pretty seamless.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's probably the best, and that's one of the cool inventions that have come out in the last couple of years. Bluetooth capable hearing protection, so
Yeah,
you can just jam and be able to do your thing. I'm not
yeah.
much of a music guy. I mean, I am when I'm like at a match, but other
Mhm.
than that, I'm like a no music.
No, I listen to music literally like almost 24/7. Just because it's for me, especially like just doing tasks. Like I have like my conscious mind up here, and then I have like my kind of wandering mind back here. And if this wandering mind doesn't ever get occupied, it starts to affect my conscious mind. And so I just use music to kind of subdue my kind of wandering mind to be like, hey, just listen to the music and don't worry about it. So then I can actually focus on the task at hand.
Gotcha. See, my problem when I tried to like work with music, I'd just be too zoned into the music, and I'd just be like, Nothing got
You
done.
sit there just like, yeah, it's such a good song. And it's like, oh crap, I'm supposed to be like answering emails and stuff.
Exactly. Answering emails, or it's usually like, oh, we're on a work call. Good thing no one actually talks to me on the work call.
Somebody messaged you. It's like, bro, like your head has been bobbing for the past like 2 minutes. Like, chill out.
Well, luckily enough, at my work computer, we don't have webcams, so
Ooh,
it's
nice.
always where well, when like my workstation is like a shared computer, so
Mm,
we don't have it's just like a desktop on the desk, and I log into my login. So there's no
gotcha.
no webcam yet. I'll knock on wood because no, thank you. They're trying to go to this whole initiative of everyone on a camera during a call, but it's like it's not feasible for the most part. But
For some things, it's good to you can like read like faces back to back or like actually have conversations well, but sometimes it's not needed as well.
yeah, like my boss, he like so my boss has an office, but it's attached to like our general room for my department. So
Mhm.
during his meetings that are totally not important, like or stuff that I'm like privy to, but I'm not invited to the meeting. But it's not that it's secret information. I'll just stand there and I'll just talk to him during the meeting because it's like stupid people. It's like
By the
or
way,
the
are
thing.
you on mute? Yeah, I am. Okay, stupid person. Okay, unmute.
Oh yeah, like so we've got these Jabra pucks, and I'll just usually tap it, be like, "Yeah, make sure this is muted," because sometimes the light will turn red or green depending on if it's muted. Sometimes it's always on red when it's not, or it's always on green. So I'm just like poke it, it's like, yeah, you're good. Like this, I usually say this meeting could have been an email. It really could have been an email,
Uh,
or they spend 30 minutes talking about one subject. There's 30 minutes you're never gonna get back. I'm the best
yeah,
commentary when it comes to his meetings because it's hilarious. Because I'm usually spot on. He's like, "You're not wrong," and that's
that's good.
the one thing that I think is going wrong with, even though that most people are back in their workplaces,
Mhm.
they're having meetings that don't require meetings, or it's like or it's meeting back up to meeting that so no actual work gets done throughout the day.
Yeah, that can happen for sure.
So at T Rex, do you guys have like a morning staff meeting, and then it's pretty much like do your thing? If you have a meeting, it might pop up.
Yeah, we have a daily kind of what we call like a stand up.
Hmm.
We follow like the Patrick Lencioni meeting kind of schedule. So you have like your daily real quick. Hey, what are you doing today? Okay, cool. Go have fun. And then like a weekly. Hey, this is what we're gonna do for the week, and stuff like that. So it kind of does keep it. It allows everybody to kind of know what everybody else is on the like what they're actually doing. So like if something affects me that you're working on, then how do I interfere? Like, do you actually have time available for this project or that project that if we're working together on it?
Hmm.
Um, or if somebody stops by, like, hey, what's so and so up to today? We also be like, hey, he's had this real big project he's working on, so he probably won't be able to do anything else. So it does help out a lot. And also you're not like bogged down of like, oh, here's a 2 hour meeting every single day of like, oh, what are you supposed to be doing? Well, it's like, oh, let me end the meeting and actually go and do it, and then we can talk about it when it's done, kind of thing. So it's definitely not that, which is nice.
Yeah, it's probably got to be the coolest place to probably work in. But it's in the middle of Tennessee, right?
Yep.
So the
Yeah,
question is, are
like
you
a
in Central or
southwest of
Eastern
Nashville.
time zone?
Central, thankfully.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I was texting, dude. I suck when it comes to knowing the difference of time zones.
Hmm.
Um, and so I was like, I don't quite know which way is which. So I was
Well,
like, I'm just gonna double check.
the application I use actually, depending on who I send it to, or it'll know for some reason via your phone what
Hmm.
time zone you're in. So it will show you the times in your time zone. But I set my availability, like I set the open availability slot times in
Yes.
my time
For your
setting.
time. Yeah, yeah. And so that's how it was when I was originally doing it. Was like, okay, this is for your time zone. I was like, cool, cool, cool. And then I was going actually looking like at my calendar, and I clicked on it, and then it was like, okay, 7:30, and then I was like, wait, it's in the notes. It said in like Eastern, and I was like, oh crap, now you got me confused.
Hmm.
Um, so
Yeah, that's the one
happy.
downside. Like how it kind of integrates with Google Calendar is not necessarily the best, but it's
Yeah.
super convenient because now I don't have to spend 15 to 20 messages back and forth with whoever I'm talking to about coming on. What day works best for you? What time slot works for you? I just send
Yeah.
them a link and you're
Yeah.
like,
No, that was definitely very seamless. That was very appreciated for sure.
well, and I got that from David Riddle of the Casual Shooter because I was just like,
Mhm.
this is
Yeah.
so much more streamlined. I don't have to now, and I do tell people like if none of the options are available for you that work, get with me and I can move some stuff around where I can make like a daytime in on the weekend work,
Mhm.
right? I try
Yeah.
to be like I used to be every day was open other than like if I had a match. Thank you for checking out another episode of Manny Talks Shooting. I greatly appreciate it. And if you could do me a favor, please go patronize our partners when you are available. We have always, as the title sponsor, G2 Custom Guns. We've got Outdoor Dynamics, Make Stuff Better, 2 Alpha Apparel, Range Panda, Laugh and Load, Hunter's HD Gold, and Southern Bobby Q. Now, thank you. Let's get on with this episode.
Yeah.
I just didn't want to push getting back. But now I'm trying to be convenient, respectful of my wife and be like, no, we can't do a podcast. Be available for podcasts every day.
Yes.
Because then and then I'm also I try to be very good about only doing one a week. Sometimes I might do 2 a week, but like one might be on Sunday, one might be on Tuesday.
Gotcha.
So they're at least split up, so it's not like my whole week's gone. But no, Fridays and Saturdays are definitely no podcast days for the most part. So we can go do stuff. And I don't like to have to rush my weekend around, especially when the weekends I get off. I don't like to go, you got to go grocery shopping. Like, you don't want to rush around and do that. I hate I like grocery shopping, but I hate grocery shopping, usually because of all the people. That's the worst about it. But so if I was not mistaken, you're supposed to be you're expecting, aren't you?
Yep. Expecting number 2.
Number 2? I wouldn't even expect you to have one yet. You're only 26.
Only 26? Only 26. Been married for almost 5.5 years. Got one with one on the way. So
there you go. Now, how old is the oldest?
He is just under 1.5.
Okay, so they'll be relatively close together.
They'll be super, super close, which is nice.
Yeah, so you won't have that's my problem is when I grew up, I was 6 years older than my sister. So it was very disconnected. Like, you're growing up in 2 different generational gaps, and it was crazy. So that'd be cool if you'll have so with one here and one on the way, how's that going to affect your training and match schedules?
Thankfully, he is due in March, and so early March, and so my first major is actually April. So it doesn't affect matches, thankfully, and I've just kind of booked out a good bit of time in March for any time he possibly can come.
Gotcha. So with the growing family, I'm assuming that limits the number of matches you're going to go to in 2025, right?
Yeah, I mean that's kind of the way it was. I've stopped shooting locals just for the sake of just being gone too many weekends. I'd much rather prioritize a major match that's like where the heavy hitters are versus just going to a local match and kind of just shooting for the heck of it.
Right.
So I think this year I'm scheduled for 8 or 9, I think, major matches. I want to say somewhere in that ballpark. I think that sounds about right. I think I just added an extra one to my schedule actually. So maybe anywhere from 8 to 10.
That's not bad. So you'll go practice maybe on a weekend then, or will you only practice during the week?
I normally only practice during the week. The range is closer to work than it is to my house, and so on Wednesday evenings I'll always get off 30 minutes early, drive to the range, shoot for 2 hours, and then head home. And so it kind of makes it where if I'm not shooting a match on the weekends, then the weekends are completely free, so we can go to the park, hang out, do whatever.
So I know you said you stopped shooting locals, but how many locals were close to you when you were shooting locals?
Back in Alabama, there was a couple. There was Brock's, which is what I started shooting for years and years and years, and that was where a lot of my success probably happened because I was able to get in such a great club because I had so many good shooters there, just off the rip.
Yeah, because Mike Huang was in that. He's from that club, right?
Yep, me and him started shooting within 6 months or something like that of each other, and so we had been battling it out every single time. Him doing open, me doing CO. So I have to be on my absolute A game to knock him out with an open gun. This happened a couple times, not very rare, but every so often I will. And generally, I'm just hey, I'm going against you basically on each time. So that was always fun. But there was CMP, there was Rocket City, but generally all the same guys would just hit each club. And so for me, Brock's was the closest. And then now up here in Tennessee, we have Strategic Edge down in Thompson Station, Spring Hill area, and Eric Shaw, John, and Ben, and a couple other guys will go shoot that one. We get Brian Conaway or Brennan Conaway out there once in a while. I haven't seen him in a while, actually.
Yeah, when he's not busy flying planes and
Yeah.
having beautiful hair.
Yeah. But strategic edge, you got Glock store, which I've always been a kind of shying away from indoor matches. If I have access to an outdoor match, I think it's counterintuitive because like you just gain so much more knowledge and it's just so much more pleasant to shoot outside than being cramped inside. Um,
Yeah, and that's a good way to get your lead exposure up, being inside all the time shooting those. Like,
Definitely.
I
I
bet
think
you're
Glock is pretty decent when it comes to like ventilation and stuff like that. But I mean, if you're doing that all the time, yeah, no, your lead levels are crazy probably.
right now, especially you probably got to be very cautious of taking any of that really home.
Yeah. Yeah. Generally, if I'm on the range, I'll make sure to de-lead hands, keep guns away from kiddo, and like change shirt, wash my face, stuff like that, change clothes.
Hmm.
Um, but honestly, with pistols, like there's really not too much lead. Um, when it comes to like actually like rifle shooting suppressed, that's where like a lot of the lead is.
Hmm.
Or even to like handling targets, steel targets. Thankfully, all that's already pre-set up. So I'm not having to like lug targets or target stands or target sticks around. Like normally they're where they already are. So a lot of that lead kind of is cut down.
Gotcha. Yeah, that does help. So you're saying you're about to shoot probably roughly 8 to 10 majors this year. If you can give me what's your ballpark? Well, off the top of your head, which ones are you shooting?
Oh, I'll be shooting. I might can name them. I'll be shooting Alabama State. I'll be shooting Tennessee State. I'll be shooting Carolina Nationals. I'll be shooting Area 5, Area 6. I'll be shooting the LE Southeast Law Enforcement Classic that just opened up and then got filled up like within a couple hours. I
Hmm.
was able to get on that. Um, I'll shoot IPSC Nationals. I'll shoot Handgun Nationals. I'll shoot Georgia State. And I feel like there was one more state. I think that might be it. So that was like 9. So those are the majors I think that I have slotted so far.
Gotcha. Now, are you shooting the Peach Classic too, or
Yeah, that's the one I'm shooting. My bad. Not Georgia State. Yeah, no.
yeah, you're shooting the Peach Classic? The
Yeah. Scott puts on a heck of a better match than 17 South.
Yeah, that's at least what I've heard from everyone. On
Yeah.
who
Back
knows,
when I
who
was out
knows.
in Alabama, I had a buddy, Garrett McLaren, who lived over in Atlanta. And so he would always come to Brox, and I would always go out to him to Riverbend. And
Hmm.
Scott would MD Riverbend, and he always put on like basically a level 2 quality match at locals like every month. And so like if you want a good local and like you're in the Atlanta area, that is the club to hit.
Hmm. Yeah, that is good. Yeah, so we'll be seeing each other at least at Area 5 and IPSC Nationals. I'll see you there. Um, it is kind of a bummer that handgun is like Area 6 and like handgun are like back to back weekends this year, which is I think Ben waited a little too long to get a Area 6 date out. So
That was the one that was kind of up in the air for a good while.
hmm.
It's just in the past like a week or two did it actually drop a date.
Yeah, I was a little surprised on that, but I mean, is what it is. I mean, when you're there's not always the best time to find the best date, and I mean, he's expecting what twins now, so it's like
Oh, is he?
yeah, so
Dang, he already has one or two.
get two, so
Okay,
he's gonna go from a family
keep
of four to a
doubling.
family of six.
Oh, wow, yeah.
Time to get a bigger house, Ben Berry. That's a damn it. Come on, pen. But anywho, so that's a good list of majors you're going to be shooting. Obviously, are you going to switch to LO after Carry Optics Nationals or only for handgun? Are you going to be shooting LO?
Thankfully, my LO setup is the exact same as my Carry Optic setup, so I don't have to change a darn thing.
Well, I mean more like signing up wise, right? Right. So I mean, Carry
Oh
Optics still
no,
has
I
most of the.
will. No, I'll sign up for Carry Optics up
Gotcha.
until I have to shoot handgun nationals, and then I'll sign up as limited optics.
Okay.
I've only ever shot a limited optics match twice. One was from concealment with a Glock 45, like when it was still a provisional division, just for the heck of it. I was like, I'm just
Hmm.
going to sign up as limited optics. I think it was at Brock's. I shot it, and then handgun nationals this year, which is weird because like the practice score or for the classification, it hasn't even like updated to my USPSA number for shooting handgun nationals, which is really weird. Um,
That
I
is
was like,
weird. That is very weird. But yeah, so what do you feel about that? Like, Carry Optics Nationals is kind of super early in the season, end of June. Um, do you feel that it's too early?
Definitely, yeah. No, I liked it back when it was in like September, October.
Mhm.
Um, I would I would much rather it be later in the season and shared versus early in the season and standalone.
Mhm.
Um, I mean, because normally everybody takes like the Christmas break where you take like a month or two off, and then it's like, okay, cool, let me get back in the swing of things. Oh crap, I have a match in like 4 months that I have to get
Mhm.
ready for. And then for a lot of guys, if they're not shooting different divisions or not able to, like you shoot carry optics and then like you're done for the rest of the year. So it's kind of detrimental to actually being able to kind of push that training throughout the entire year um, instead of, like I said, just shooting it and then being done for the next 8 years or 8 months.
Mhm. Yeah, I agree. I definitely agree on that one. I mean, they could do a little bit better on that job. But they finally did something quite right, I feel, and they finally did allow video evidence to be used. You were
Did they?
egregiously yes, the
I
rules
didn't know
finally
that. That's awesome.
up yesterday. The rules 22/3/2025. The rules finally updated.
Let's
So
go.
back in what was it, November or was it December? That
It was November, I think, something like that.
So November, you were egregiously had a disservice done to you by a few range officers at a match, and you had all the video angles to prove that you did.
Yeah, dude, it was kind of like a perfect storm because that match, I actually had T-Rex camera crew with me because we're like, hey, we're gonna film a video shooting a match from concealment.
Mhm.
Because that would be kind of cool. Because like, hey, you don't have to have all this fancy equipment. You literally can just like show up with your EDC gear and shoot a match. And so like we had the camera angles for sure. I
Mhm.
think we had just just us alone, we had three, and there was also two different people videoing it at times. So we had like five different angles of the supposed incident.
Right. So, how many stages of the match did you get through?
I think that was my third or fourth stage.
Oh, so
It
you
was
so you got a few stages worth of video, but not the whole match's worth of content.
Yeah, so we ended up just canning that idea for that match,
Mhm.
and we'll pick it up later on with a different match. But yeah,
Gotcha.
that was definitely it was it was kind of like a little bit surreal because I was like in like as I'm shooting it, I'm like, dude, that was nowhere absolutely close. So I'm like, just go ahead and call the match director over. Like, there's no point in arguing with you. Like, just go ahead and get the match director. And I was 100% believing that it was going to get overturned and I was going to continue out this match.
Mhm.
And the more and more talking to different people, kind of feeling them out, kind of having a little bit of attitude with a couple guys, or them having attitude with me. Um, I was just like holy crap! Like I'm actually about to get like DQ'd from this match for something I didn't even do. So it was not the funnest time, but it happened.
Right. Yeah. And that's the bummer. I mean, even in the rules before, like you couldn't. There's no you cannot legally present a target past 180, and there was
Yeah.
no way you were past 180 engaging that in those targets. It's like,
Yeah,
oh,
it was that it was which the that target in general was a little squirrely. It was close to the 180 as well,
hmm
of already like being presented at like being presented at the wrong spot. But even if you look at the video, like I was nowhere close to even breaking it as well.
hmm
There was a little bit of like coaching from the ROs of like, oh well, you should have shot it this way instead because that's how you wouldn't have got DQ'd. And it's like, okay, well, did you DQ me because I shot it how you think I shot it incorrectly? Then there was more so of like trying to like have a conversation with the match director of like, hey, you can only arbitrate DQs if it's extringent circumstances, and it was like, okay, well, what is an extringent circumstance? And he's like, I don't know, and I'm like, well, have you ever given one? He's like, no. He's like, have you ever heard of anybody doing that? And he's like, also no. It's like, well, if there's this caveat to the rule that's nobody's ever used, then that caveat is kind of pointless. So it's basically just like the gavel's hit, it's done. Like there's a final call. So like,
hmm
why are we even talking and trying to argue this? Um,
right, yeah, exactly. It's now at least there's an avenue for stage staff, stage crew appeal, range master appeal, and then you can even take video to ARB. I
yeah,
mean, there's still the
you have to get to ARB in the first place. In my case, I wouldn't have even gone to
y-
arbitration.
yeah, they
Um,
wouldn't even I wouldn't even. either they'd take your money and keep your $100, or they would tell you don't even fill out the form. There's nothing,
Yeah.
It,
So, I mean, it's a good step in the right direction. I haven't read the rules. You said it came out yesterday, so I'll go and peruse
yeah,
it, look at it.
yeah. Look at the change
But
log. It'll probably be the easiest way to read it instead of.
yeah, but in my head too, like every other major sport, and I do think we need to treat this as a sport, not a hobby.
Mm-hmm.
Every other
Agreed.
sport does do kind of video evidence, and those are definitely on the of like the sport itself records and kind of infers and looks at. But in our case, like that's kind of impractical when it comes to a lot of matches. But everybody's recording, everybody's videoing. I think it would be pretty simple to be able to look at a video and be like, hey, either this video, one, like, okay, yeah, that was 100% not the call, or two, 100% that was the correct call, or three, hey, we don't quite know. And at that
Right.
point, we're still at the same point we were before the video was even introduced of we can't make the correct call. We can't determine what the correct call could be. So even if one of those three things happens, I still think that video should be presented.
Right. Well, and even that, like, even if you can't make, if you can't make a call, it's almost kind of like a target. I can't score your target, so you get a reshoot, which then could be in favor for most. I was talking to a match
Yeah.
director. We were talking to the Buckeye guys who are in charge of Buckeye Blast.
Mhm.
We were talking. I'm like, okay, to run a major match effectively, you have to keep shooters moving. With video evidence, the rules say that it goes to the RO, CRO, then the range master. I'm like, how are we going to effectively move the match along for everybody who thinks that they got screwed because let me review my video, and it's like we
Yeah,
still have
no.
to run your whole. You were the first shooter. We have to run the whole squad still.
Yeah. But you're going to get that particular type of dude already. Those are the guys who are calling for doubles every single miss. Those are the guys who are calling for, oh, that's
Yeah.
nice, you're not a football, or oh, did you paint the barrel every time? Like those guys are going to be in the sport, and your
Yep.
squad mates just have to be like, look, dude, like sit down, shut up. You did not shoot a perfect double.
Right. So hopefully the squad is going to do a lot of the correcting instead of necessarily be like, we have to go through the whole rigmarole now. So
Yeah.
you're gonna show me the video. I'm the RO. You're gonna show me the video. Then you're gonna have to show my CRO the video. Oh well, he can't determine. Oh, you want the range master to look at it. Okay. I just wish that HQ would have put out a policy saying this is how you handle it. Someone says they have video evidence they'd like you to look at. They tell you, okay, we will address it at the end. Get me the video. Get it ready. We'll look at it after we shoot the rest of your squad because we still have work to do here.
Yeah.
And I'm also kind of laughing. I've been talking with my local group too, the local club guys. I'm like, I'm gonna laugh at you if you tell me to review your video evidence at a local. I'm gonna be like, really? It's this important? No, I guess I could understand, right? You had like they say you shot too many shots on a Virginia count. I can understand that. That's simple. We just watched the video real quick, no big deal.
Yeah.
But when it's
And I
like,
think that's where it takes a lot of the things. So I had a similar situation happen at like, I think it was Area 6 or Area 5. I shot through a wall, had the makeup shot, and had two alphas on the target. And the RO was like, oh, no, you only shot two at it. So this wall hit. You have to take one of those alphas. And I'm like, sir, I shot three at it. Like, I clearly remember. He's like, well, I don't remember. So it's a reshoot. I'm like, okay.
yeah, I mean, at worst, you have to expend more ammo, but that's why you don't come with the exact amount of rounds to shoot the match.
You can always bring ammo home, but it is real hard to find ammo at a match.
Right. Well, at least you shoot a Glock now, so you don't have to worry about like super short ammo like you did with your Shadow 2.
Yeah. No,
So
shoot, I
you,
was loading shadows to like 1.08, like stupid short.
yeah. So were you actually loading ammo at? So
For 2 years, 2.5 years, I loaded my own.
okay, so then you got
I
rid of
literally
it.
bought the press and all the components like during the height of COVID, which is completely stupid.
Yeah, that's what I
And
did. I
started
bought my
reloading.
press during COVID.
Yeah.
I think I used one of my stimulus checks. I'm like, well, I'm buying a press. I need it now. So-
Nice. I think I used one of them to buy like body armor for the heck of it because I was like, dude, like, why not? And then I forgot what I used the other one. I probably bought more ammo, honestly.
yeah. If I didn't shoot open, I probably wouldn't load my own ammo because it's a freaking. It just there's so much time
Yeah.
invested in loading ammo. I would
Definitely.
much rather just like, hey, I need ammo. Please send it to me. But
Yeah.
it also is a way like, oh, I buy bullets. It doesn't hurt me so bad. Oh, I have to buy powder, and I don't ever. I don't have to buy everything all at once. It's one of those like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
I spent a couple
And
hundred
like
bucks on this.
that case, it does make sense. But like I was buying in batches of like 1 to 5,000.
Mhm.
So it was not very cost like prohibitive or like cost nicely,
Yeah.
because it appears a lot of, or not a lot of things to actually get the price benefits of it.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
but
Yeah.
also too, if you have a gun that's like very finicky on ammo, then yeah, making your own ammo is the right play. Unless you can get some of the fancy, who makes good, like I would say like Ely, maybe Atlanta Arms would probably have some good stuff.
Yeah, Outdoor Dynamics makes good
Yeah,
ammo. The new one, the big one who's been coming on the scene is Excalibur. I mean,
I
it can
haven't
be
shot any of
some.
their stuff. I thought they were actually like a projectile. I didn't know they actually sold like the whole thing.
No, yeah, they started making their own ammo. I think now they're finally making um projectiles because I think the rumor is they bought out Montana Golds. Montana Gold was a bullet
Oh, yeah,
manufacturer.
yeah, I remember them.
But yeah, so then there's yeah, that would be the night. I mean, everyone talks about just going to a minor only sport, but it also defeats the purpose for like the open guns. It's like I like my go fast gun. I like going like major power factor is cool in that because you have the gun that can handle it, and it's the like everyone says it's the F1 or it's the drag race, right?
Yeah. No, I
I'd
think
almost
I think the open is there's always going to be a place, and I think there always should be a place for open in USPSA
yeah,
because, like I said, it is the top where like no rules barred, as much you can do to a gun to get it to run as fast as humanly possible, and see where like the actual limit of human performance is.
right. So with working at T Rex, I guess this is a side question. I guess working at T Rex, do you see or find that more people getting into the gun industry want a compensated gun?
Yes, that's a pretty like with like Sig and other companies, Walther, Springfield making or comped. They call comped actually ported guns from the factory, is pretty commonplace now. I think a few years back, nobody was doing it, and it was all like the crappy thread-on suppressors that had to be
Right.
timed and had to be checked, and like they were not good. And now there's actually some like good aftermarket support, when it comes to those things. And so I think the want there, or the want is there. I'm not quite sure the need is there though,
Hmm.
because I'm still a very large proponent of like actually getting good at the fundamentals, so you don't have to rely on the equipment. Um, so yeah,
Right. Yeah. Now, I was listening to the Humble Marksman the other day about talking about compensated or ported guns. USPSA finding a home for those. Um, I don't know what the answer is either, though. But yeah, I do see the trend. Yeah, I do see the trend where everyone's like, oh, this new Staccato XC. Well, that's not new, but you know what I mean. Like all those new like
the 365
Springfield.
X macro, the Echelon chunk port,
Yeah.
Walther's new PKM, PMM,
Yeah, something like
one
that.
of
But
the,
yeah, those options and people buy them because they're cool. And then like, well, what division do I shoot in?
yeah,
Open. Like, we were setting up for my local indoor match that I co-match direct. We had a guy come in. He was a LE. We're very fortunate. About 10 to 12 of the shooters out of like the 36 to 40 are all LE. This one
that's
guy
nice.
came in. Yeah, and they're getting better, which is awesome to see. But there was this one guy. He was another cop, and he was like, "What's?" Because the range does a terrible job about saying when we close the range is down to set up for the match and when the match is. Do a terrible job about announcing that. So people always come in trying to shoot, and it's like you got to explain to them. No, the range is closed. We're setting up for this match, and then you get talking to them, and they're really nice people. And this one guy's like, "Oh, I got this ported Canic." I'm like, "Well, that'd put you in open division." He ported it himself or something. Like he had somebody
Freaking
port it
drill
for him.
press at home. Let's go.
I don't know if it was that bad, but yeah, it's just like, but yeah. So and he explained to him, it's like, well, you'd be an open division, but here at a local, it really doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Because especially at indoor, there's not much time. The guys at the top are still fighting for the same amount of time. It's not like the performance of a comped gun is really gonna, it's not really gonna. How do I say this correctly?
It's not going to do too much.
Yeah, like you can only move as fast as your feet move, and how many positions you
Yeah.
absolutely have to go to, especially when it design stages. I don't want everyone to be able to shoot from two positions. I'm making a 32 round stage. I want you to have to go to 4 to 5 positions.
Yeah.
But that's how I was brought up in stage design. I'm like, okay,
Mhm.
you're going to shoot one or two targets here, one or two targets from here. You might be able to shoot three here, but you
Ipsy
have,
style.
yeah. And that's just how my person who coached me in stages, it's like, well, if you want them to do it, you've got to make them do it. You can't be like, well, there's the option to do it. Well, that's a dumb option because then no one's going to do it.
Yeah, yeah. think Mason Lane has a similar argument. It's like stop trying to make stages with options because there's always going to be a better option. So people aren't going to do the crappy option. Just make a good stage in general that like, hey, you have to go to this position. Like there's nothing wrong with that. You
Right.
know?
Yeah. And then, and then there's going to be some argument. Well, I could skip this position if I take a shitty shot, a shitty lean here and a shitty lean there. I'm like, you might viably get someone to take 2 shitty leans or go to a third position.
Yeah.
But I mean, at the end of the day, the top guys are going to perform at the best, and they're going to find the plan that works for them and their execution. So yeah, I design stages where you have to go to a lot of spots, but you can still kind of shoot and move and flow on them. Like that's the big hard thing when we're trying to do that. Like getting my mentor to understand, like we want to shoot on the move. It's a skill. Well, yeah, we do it at locals, but you need
100%.
to still be able to do it at majors too. Like you can't design a stage where I got to go here and I got to go here, so I have to run really fast. No, how about I blend a target in between here and there, and then
Yep.
so I don't know.
Those
I
kind of
see a lot.
stages are a lot funner to shoot,
Mhm.
honestly, because it's not so much of like stand and shoot, run over here, stand and shoot, run over here. Like you can actually do a little bit of moving and shooting, a little bit of flow, and I just like cohesively put the stage together, and it's just more collectively fun in
Right.
general.
Did you watch any videos from the US IPSC Extreme from this past weekend?
Oh yeah, I watched a lot of people's.
All I noticed was it seemed like everything looked the same, and this could be because all the plates in steel were yellow, and every stage had like a swinger. Gorka and Manny must have like a million swingers at their Brown because like every stage had a swinger.
Yeah, no. And I think also that's like the IPSC style. Like you have stupid simple stages. You only get 4 minutes, I think, to look at it. And then they follow the 3-2-1 rule. So it's like how many different 12 round stages can you actually design? Like they're gonna start looking the similar at a
Mhm.
point, you know?
Yep. Yeah, there might be a tweak or a gimmick here because of the funky port you got to shoot. Like I was watching a couple of videos. There's the stage that had like the slit port, right? Where everyone was like taking like a step here, a step here, a step. Well, especially I was watching PCC shooters. Probably a little bit easier with a pistol because you kind of just can move a little bit better instead of with the rifle.
Hmm.
But I was just like, damn, this like there's only 2 ways to shoot that stage. You either start on the right or you start on the left,
Yeah.
and you.
Yeah.
But so
And that's
yeah,
more so is like testing the actual shooters and not so much of like who is the best stage planner.
yeah,
Because that's, I mean, there's definitely skill in like being a good stage planner, but also too like you don't want a great shooter to be like handicapped because he didn't think of this off the wall weird idea of how to shoot a stage. Like you want the general flow to be the same so that the actual skill of the competitor is tested.
oh, 100%. Yeah, you don't want the guy who's the best gamer to necessarily win the match. You want the best shooter overall to be or the best competitor to win
Yep,
the match.
definitely.
I think even it's like Nils said, like when he won nationals with, I think it was limited nationals with a minor gun. He was like, I was the best competitor that day. He might not have been the best shooter, but he was the best competitor, so he was able to rack up the points
Yep.
best way possible.
Yeah. At the end of the day, I mean, this is a sport. There
Mhm.
are things to make you good at putting bullets or putting holes in targets really fast, and then there's things that are good at getting more points. So
Right.
like you have to know which one is which, and know when to play each card.
Oh, exactly. Now you mentioned it's a sport, which I agree with you. Are you doing anything outside of your shooting and training? Like, are you doing any physical workouts? Are you doing anything like that?
Yep. So I just started working out. I mean, growing up in high school, like always doing sports, and so I was generally a fit kid.
Hmm.
But then like college hit, and I was like, yeah, I'm not gonna pursue any of this because I'm not a college level basketball player. So just recently, just started working out some more, and I have been very impressed with like just the maybe not the increase of strength, but just like the level of control of being able to come into a position and just feel much more like weighted and balanced and ready to enter and exit a lot more smoother, as well as just like the overall health feel of like, hey, it feels good to actually exercise your muscles and get a little bit of tired every once in a while.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, I think that's right, and I think that now more than ever, we're finding the fact that the top level guys can't just rest on their shooting. They actually have to be physically fit and keep up with themselves. JJ for it always looks like he's like a vampire or something because he doesn't look like he's gained any age, but we all just say
The
that he like
Filipino
drinks.
dude, yeah,
Yeah, the Filipino-ness, or it's like he's a vampire and he's drinking the blood of his enemies to stay young.
yeah, yeah. But I think, I mean, the top like Max has been doing this for decades probably.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I think it's now we have like the new generation of shooters that are already young and lean and quick, and so now they're like, okay, well let me take this to the next level by actually working out and being even more athletic and more fast to actually have like a larger leg up, basically.
Oh yeah, 100%. And I'm glad that everyone's doing that. It shows that we're a sport. We need to find. I would love it if USPSA or IPSC found a way to get us back on TV. I don't know if you ever saw the show Hot Shots with Max.
Yeah, yeah. Not
Yeah,
on TV, but I would
it was
rewatch
on
them on
YouTube.
YouTube.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no, that show like where a camera crew was following him around, right? And you watched him. He goes for the triple crown, like world
yep,
speed, the pro am, and handgun nationals all in the
yep.
same year. Then the next year
Yep,
is
yep,
the
yep.
world shoot, and it's like it was awesome. It was a great piece of content. I
Yeah,
just wish we were
and
able to
that's
get. Go
yeah.
ahead.
You have to have a good storyteller to kind of do that because there definitely are aspects of our sport that like onlookers looking in are like, okay, was that good? Was that bad? Like you really need a good narrator, a good storyteller to actually be able to kind of convey that to the audience, as well as like a sport aspect. You can It's like watching baseball. You kind of know who's good, who's bad, who's winning, who's losing.
Hmm.
But it'd be kind of up in the air sometimes with our sport.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, hit factor scoring does not do us any services. Like I try to explain like to my family, like, oh, I won my local tonight. Yeah, but or it was like I won my like the other day, like a match where I won my division, I was second overall. And she's like, "Well, how'd you win your division but you were second?" I'm like, then you're trying to talk hit factor math and it's like, well, this guy shot a better time with better points.
Yeah.
So,
Well, what's freaking wild is whenever you have people in the same division, their overall ranking is swapped versus their division ranking. So in
mhm.
overall, the actual number two won, and in the division, the actual the other guy won. And it's like, how in the world does that make sense? Like, just literally just because the ratios of the different stages and their percentages based on those guys who won, they have different culmination of the points, and so they could just have different standings when it comes to the overall versus the
Yeah,
division.
that's especially weird, especially when they're in the same division, but it's I did that to somebody. I won in open, I won a stage or I won the stage overall, which then affected the carry optics winner and then the overall winner. And he was like, "Man, you screwed me out of a overall win." I'm like, "Oopsie, I took one stage from you
It's
guys."
like, oh, poor guy, shoot better next time.
Yeah. Well, and they're like, "You have your major power factor." I'm like, "Yeah, I guess so. Leave me be." but but yeah, there's always those weird things like that where yeah, they're so close, or like even like the depending on the app, like the practice score competitor app, and then the
Mhm.
website will be different, and it's like
Yeah, I haven't
I
found
always
that to be.
we had a local match, and I think the problem was we did a fixed time stage. This is one of my indoor matches
Oh,
that I ran.
now
We had
yeah, we had that same thing happen with I think it was this year's nationals because we had the big practice score debacle of how they changed the high available a little bit,
oh
where
yeah,
it
the
went off
point
of
loss
like
thing.
yeah, it went off of like average points loss, but then there was a fixed time stage in there that like just jacked up the math completely of like it was saying the winner had like negative or like negative 10-point loss on that stage. And it was like, how do you can't lose points because you're the winner, but it was weird because it was hit factor or it was a fixed time.
Mhm.
So there was some weirdness going on.
Yeah, that is pretty weird. But I knew is like some people were punching in times, or for some reason the we sunk the tablets and the timers, and somebody was hitting the sync button or the clock button on the bottom, and it was like the stage was only 8 seconds fixed time. How are a times 60 seconds, and then the next person has 120 seconds, and they didn't shoot 60 extra seconds on the rest of the stages? It's like
Yeah.
and that's how it came down to because I told the guys who were telling me it's like, yeah, this is wrong. I'm like, I don't know. On my end, everything looks right, and other than the fact that somebody punched in a time on a fixed time. I mean, it doesn't affect your points because your hit factor is still how many points you got.
Yeah.
But
But
some
still
weird
stats you
mix.
look at that in the match.
Yeah, damn local matches. No, but
It
I
happens.
don't.
It happens.
Yeah, exactly. It's sometimes just a pain in the butt, but it is what it is, right? We're learning the technology is getting better. I even went out and bought myself a personal screen. You know those screens they have at nationals. So I bought one
Oh,
of
the
those.
AMG screens.
Yeah, the AMG screen. I bought one of
Yeah.
those, and I told everyone at my locals, like, if you're on my squad, this thing's going up no matter what. Like, I already put my tablet and timer together. Like, we're already gonna do this. Just put the screen up there so everyone can see the time.
Yeah.
I think it's so much better instead of like getting so close on the RO to try to get the timer, and the RO never holds it right? So
Yes.
it's like,
Well, put the freaking speaker in a different side of the box than the actual display, and like then
well,
we could like be smart.
this true. Or having two screens. That's the one thing great about the
Oh,
Kestrel, right? The Kestrel has two
yes.
screens, so you can see it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
like usually when I throw the timer behind my back, everyone's like, no, put it up here. I'm like, no, it's just gonna go right here. You know where I'm putting it by now. Like, or I try to be nice. If I see someone following me with a phone, I'm just like, there you go.
Yep.
There's your thing. Like, but that's why I love the screen. I can just have the screen up and be like, there's your time.
It's so much simpler. Everybody around the stage, everybody taking videos or whatever it is, they can just immediately see, as well as all the rest of the competitors. They can
Yeah.
like instantly know, hey, what was the time?
Right. Well, and especially say there's a left or right state. You go left first or you go right first, right? Which one costs you more time, right? When you're comparing equal skilled guys, you're like, well, it only takes 3 seconds to get out of this position, or it takes 4.5 seconds to get out of this position.
Yeah.
And then you can make an educated guess, especially if you're down the road on the
Yeah.
the squad.
Less off of the RO tablet because I mean, I'm always asking the dudes like, hey, what was that time? What was the hit factor? What was the points? And
Mm-hmm.
so like if you can get information to everybody without having to go through that one person, it's probably going to be a load off his back as well.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, and they probably really don't care. Like, who, what's my hit factor? It's usually the guy asks every time, what was that one? Or and then you got the guys who are like, I don't even know, I just hit the button. And then they're the ones who are gonna bitch that their score's wrong at the end of the day. It's like,
I didn't have this many no shoots. It was like, no, bro, you did. You really
yeah,
did.
you definitely did. Yeah.
Mm.
Well, Brantley, man, I think we're end of it's almost my bedtime is what I'm coming down to. But before we wrap it up, um, do you have any sponsors or partners like that?
So I am sponsored by T-Rex. They help out with some of the match stuff as well. So that would be my kind of only like sponsor as well. But it does
Gotcha.
help out because I work for them.
Right. It's part of your compensation package. That's cool. But that is awesome. And I'm glad to see that, every cool thing you're doing with T-Rex, all the cool changes that are coming, it's cool to see all the innovations they have, that they're wrong screen, but everything they're coming back out with and all that. So it's really cool to see
Appreciate it.
them do that. And I'm glad to see where that's going to go. Maybe I'll actually have to watch some of the T-Rex videos to see more of you. You do have a YouTube channel, right? Or
Yep.
you're,
Got a
so
YouTube channel. Got Instagram.
So, what's the best? I'm assuming obviously Instagram is probably the best place for people to get a hold of you. But what's that tag or handle?
Brantley_Merriam. Nice, short and sweet. So
Yep, I'll put that in the show notes, guys. But and I'm assuming the YouTube's the same thing, just your name.
yep. It might be on the bio in Instagram.
Gotcha. Oh, we can't go yet. We totally forgot to talk about this. I'll make it quick though. You started finally training people on your own.
Yes, yes. I have been asked for years now, actually, to hey, train this, train that, and I wanted a point in my shooting career where I had the skills of shooting, but also the skills of teaching, because those can be like symbiotic skills, but they're definitely not. If you're good at shooting, that doesn't automatically mean you're going to be good at teaching.
Correct.
They're independent skills that have to be learned. And so one of the great things that like working with T-Rex, I was able to talk more and kind of dial in stuff of being able to convey it to customers and to different people on the internet. And so that kind of worked its way into then on my own time as well of practicing like how do I want to say this? What's a good way of kind of like conceptualizing and explaining this? Do a couple private classes or private trainings here and there. And I was like, you know what? Hey, I feel like I'm comfortable at actually doing like a full on class, and I was able to kind of button everything up and actually send go at the beginning of this year.
Mm-hmm. So if people want to reach out to you for training, best place still is Instagram.
Yep, best place is Instagram. As well as you can hit me up on the actual website itself, which is just BrantleyMerriamTraining.com. I have all the classes that I'm currently like booked for. You can either like pay through that website, or it has a link to whoever I'm actually going and training with. And then there's spots where you can learn like different classes I want to teach, media stuff. So like my latest YouTube, latest Instagram, stuff like that. As well as if you're interested in like actually hosting a class at your range or around the country, hit me up in like the contact page, give me some quick information, and I can reach out and we can set something up as well.
That is awesome. Yeah. So, guys, if you want to train with Brantley, hit him up on the the website, Instagram, do everything. Get a hold of him. Get some good
Do it
training
all.
from a top level super squad guy who destroys people with Glocks and with a drop offset holster and a thigh rig and all the cool things that make him super tactical too.
I need to
But
get what do you want to hear? I need to get a SD holster and a thigh strap
yep,
while
just for
wearing
the
a plate
lols.
carrier and nods. I think that would be like the ultimate way to run a match.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, just get all the tactical cool, pull everything out of the armory. It'll be fine. Lucas will say
Let's
it's
go.
fine.
I'll do it. Easy, easy, done.
Easy peasy. All right, brother. But thank you again for hanging out with me. This was a blast. I had a good time. So, and I think the listeners will enjoy this one as well.
Appreciate you having me on for sure.
Yep. So everyone check them out. And as I say at every episode, get out and do the things. I'm going to see you on the next one.